Joe Rogan's P1 Ultimate sim setup that we are currently in the process of assembling. Now, this sim is about 65% done, and we're gonna be putting the finishing touches on to deliver it to his studio in Austin, Texas. Obviously, as you can see, it's not fully done, but let's get started on the assembly and show you guys step by step in the process of how to get it to the final product. If you guys are new here, we are Podium One Racing, and we are the world's best turnkey sim builders, and this is just another one in the process. Now, you guys haven't seen some of the sims we've built, but this one specifically has a few custom options that we want to go into with you guys and show you. So the P1 Ultimate is the top of the line system that we have here at Podium One Racing, and this is the Ultimate with the Obsessed Garage option on it, and we're actually adding on a few extra details that are going to be unique to Joe's sim specifically. This is going to be going to his studio in Austin, Texas. We're going to be hand delivering it and setting it up for him. As you guys can see, where it's at right now is a lot of the wiring is done. We have the pedals on, we have the wheel on, we have a few different aspects added on like the flight, but to get it to its final form, we obviously had to add things on like the seat and a lot of other aspects. Like I said, 65% done. As you're looking at it in its form right now, one of the unique aspects that we did for Joe was we painted it in a actual Porsche chalk gray. He didn't specifically want any particular custom color, but here we like to have a little bit of that custom finish on there because it looks a little bit cleaner than just the black finish. Now, Joe just wanted to buy the turnkey system ready to go and deliver to his house, but with some of the touches that we wanted to add on, we wanted to make it unique because it's obviously Joe Rogan. One of those big things is going to be the seat. Now we're going to take you guys to the back and show you guys a little bit information on that seat before we go ahead and add it on and install it onto the sim. One of the unique aspects of this rig is going to be the seat. Now, this is an actual race car seat from Recaro. This is the Recaro Podium seat right here. As you can tell, it's a full carbon fiber seat. Now, an interesting aspect of this with the rig is that Joe has no idea that this is going on the sim. He thinks he's getting a standard seat, whatever comes with the P1 Ultimate, and now he's getting a super unique seat, along with obviously the color of everything. But this is an actual race car seat that's FIA tested and could be placed in an actual car, but he's gonna have it on the sim. And I think it's be really cool to see his reaction to that because he has no idea. Some of you guys might be wondering why Joe Rogan's buying a sim from us, how he found out about us here, and I'll tell you guys a little bit of a story about that. Now, if you guys know Tom Segura, very funny comedian, he has a bunch of podcasts and stuff, and he's also into cars and racing and things of that nature, and he saw one of our reels on Instagram that went viral. He reached out to us, and we were working with him to build him a custom sim. If you guys might have saw on one of Tom's podcasts, he actually talked about this and getting this new sim.
Dude, do you play video games?
By the way,
No.
You should see what I'm getting.
We're very opposite from each other.
A PC system? Can't. What?
You don't
oh,
even know
for
what I'm
fuck's
getting.
sake. Another Oculus thing?
No, no.
What? A seat?
It's the most.
No. One of the.
Yeah, but it's the fucking.
What was he talking about?
He's talking about rich people video game shit.
I looked over at you and you went like this and he goes, yeah, what is that?
Yeah,
mean?
this is nerd code.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I would love to do it.
Look at her face.
Is she excited for you? Oh, no. God. What is this? Look at the TVs are like curved
Jesus.
around.
Okay, you want to hear the coolest part?
The price?
Can I tell you the coolest part though?
Let me see
that
it.
you can.
Is it an edit? Never mind.
You can switch. You can switch between any type of car, any type of track, then go to helicopter, and then give you all the and then go into then go to planes and even jets.
We took that clip, cut it up, put it on our Instagram, made a reel of it, and Joe saw that and sent us a DM. And it's kind of funny, the DM he sent us. Joe sent us a message and said, I effing need this in my life, ha 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 ha. So we were able to get in contact with him, get in contact with Jamie, and Joe actually purchased this sim setup from us. And again, we're gonna do a little bit of add-ons here and there, but this isn't a sponsored build or anything. Joe wanted to purchase a setup. It's pretty cool that he wanted one of our sims. It's now time to install the seat, but I'm gonna have Chandler, one of the owners of Podium One Racing, come in here and show you guys a little bit more details while we're installing the seat and some information on the sim as we're building.
So what's up guys? We got P1 Trey here installing the seat sliders. All of our sims are built with intentionality, meaning that people of all shapes and sizes can get in and be able to reach the pedals, get in their comfortable position. Everyone's a little bit different on the seating position, the type of racing. So it's Formula 1 to GT3 to NASCAR. Everyone's gonna be able to find their home on this rig. A couple other things I want to touch on is build quality. Anyone can build a sim. I encourage you guys, if you can't afford a turnkey sim from someone like us, to build it. It's a lot of fun. They're all modular. The reason someone like Joe would pay us $50, $60, $70,000 for the ultimate sim is because attention to detail. We build hundreds of sims a month, and thus we get to run into all of the issues you might run into in a sim, and the best way to wire, the best products, etc. So I want to show, there's gonna be several dozen peripherals installed on this rig, meaning that USB cables have to be powered properly, whether it's USB 3.0, 2.0, data cables for the motion actuators. For us, it's like a giant puzzle of putting it together in the most perfect way. So we've got probably 15 to 20 hours in wiring just on the chassis, meaning that everything is put in a methodical way. So if anything had to be replaced or anyone wanted to upgrade a piece, everything's accessible, everything makes sense. And again, attention to detail and build quality. Another thing I want to touch on is rigidity. These right here are haptic motion actuators, which we'll get into some of the details on how they work later. But this thing has to be able to support up to 1,000 pounds, moving, vibrations. There's a lot of things going on. People putting, 100 kilograms of pressure on a brake pedal. So that means that every nut and bolt has to be so tight, so locked in. All the wiring has to be tight, locked in to a point where someone could have this rig for 2 years and race on it, 10 hours a week, and nothing moves unless it's supposed to. Guys like Trey right here, which I would say are craftsmen in the sim racing industry, put a lot of time and care into how these things are built. Again, we've touched on the wiring, we've touched on the build quality, and then we have to get into things like ergonomics, right? Where should a shifter be? Where should an e-brake be? Where should a steering wheel be? How should it be positioned? Those are things that we have to think through because a lot of people are like, well, I built a setup for $2,000 at home, and you can do. Again, I encourage you guys to do that. But when you start to get into a system that can be used for actual training or even pilots, when you get some of the higher end flight sims can actually log hours with the FAA approved sim. There's a lot of stuff that we have to think through in the back end, and I just wanted to give you guys really a first look inside of Podium One, what goes on behind the scenes. We've never really done an in-depth build overview like this, showing kind of the craftsmanship. A couple other fun features like the LEDs. All this has to be wired into the chassis. So whether it's a remote like this or an iPhone app, any of our customers with motion and the LEDs equipped will be able to control their colors. You got LEDs integrated into the wheelbase. Obviously the wheels have all sorts of LEDs, the pedals, some of the flight stuff. So again, just kind of giving you guys a full context picture of what goes into just the chassis. What I'm really excited to show you is the monitor stand. You'll see the big, sexy, giant curved monitors, but it's behind the monitors where the magic happens. So we'll keep going. So with our P1 Ultimate, there's 2 wheels included. We have a Formula style Asetek Forte, which is forged carbon and carbon fiber, LEDs everywhere. It's a great wheel, but again, it's more for Formula racing. For more traditional racing, we'll call it Club Sport. We have a Club Sport style wheel from GSI with the screen, all the buttons, TC, brake bias, etc. That way people have a little bit of flexibility on what type of racing they're going to be doing. But for Joe's, he's got a 993 Gunther Works Porsche. We know he's a Porsche fan. So we've got an officially licensed Porsche RSR replica wheel. Again, officially licensed, meaning that this is a 1-to-1 replica of the Porsche RSR with all the 4 traction control settings, the screen with the dash, the tachometer, etc. It's going to be awesome.
Wow, that looks even better once you get it on the chassis.
I will say, something I've been waiting for since we got the seat, Ricardo sent us the seat, is to see it on a rig. A lot of the reason that we wanted to paint this the color that we did, obviously being an official factory Porsche color, is to give contrast to highlight the seat. If you put this seat on a black system, and you'll see them kind of out in the distance here, you really wouldn't be able to see the carbon fiber and the black Alcantara and the red. So for us, this is a cool moment because this seat, first time this seat's been installed on a sim, and you can see it in all of its details perfectly.
In honor of Joe Rogan Sim, we're going to be doing a giveaway of an Asetek Forte wheel with a custom built stand that you could put on your desk that is actually powered for this Asetek Forte wheel. So when we go ahead and slide this on, you can see it actually powers up. And so you can have this on your desk displayed, and these pieces on the back are actually made leftover parts from Joe Rogan Sim. Now, again, if you actually have your own sim setup and rig and you have a compatible wheelbase for this steering wheel, you can actually use this wheel yourself, or you can just keep it as a display piece if you do not have a rig. So the rules for this giveaway are very simple. You just have to 1, subscribe to YouTube channel Podium One Racing. Number 2, follow us on Instagram at Podium One Racing as well. And number 3, leave a comment on the post that's up on the screen that's going to be on our Instagram page and tag 2 friends, and that is it. And we'll pick the winner in 1 month's time. As we're in the process of building Joe's sim, obviously we have about, let's say, 30% left on it. We have it at a point right now where we can show you a little bit more detail on some of the aspects of it, like the pedals that you won't be able to see once we get stuff like the monitors involved. And with this process, since it's somebody like Joe Rogan Sim, we want to show you guys as much detail as possible and give you guys as much information as possible, because it's not every day that you get to see setups like this, especially for somebody like Joe. So we're going to give you a little more detail, especially on the pedals, because this is an important aspect of this rig.
One of the biggest issues for people getting into sim racing and feeling real is the pedals. The steering wheel and the feedback and all that stuff is nuanced, but you can get even a half decent direct drive wheelbase and it feels pretty good and you get it dialed. However, for pedals, there's so much feel that goes into feeling the brake, feeling the throttle, the clutch, etc. So the pedal set that we have here, we've got 2 static pedals for the throttle and clutch. These are the Husingfeld Ultimates, company out of Germany. They make by far the best pedals in sim racing. Apart from this is the only pedal in existence that is fully active. And I don't know if you can see here, there's a screw drive. So this pedal, when I open up the software, you guys will see this later on, it can move by itself. Now, why would you want it to move by itself? All the subtle nuances. For instance, if you're driving a car like a GT4 Porsche with ABS, you can feel the ABS because this thing can actually give that feedback, whether it's vibrations, whether it's movement, etc. Another reason is we've got pro drivers that drive multiple different series. So they might be in an LMP car and they might be in a GT4 Club Sport one day at Daytona doing the roar before the 24, right? And the difference in those cars are vastly different. One's gonna have a mechanical brake, one's gonna have more electronics. And so to be able to emulate that, you need a pedal that can be quickly adjusted. So with this screw drive, you can adjust the travel. So you have the full travel here, but in the software, you can limit it to say, 18 millimeters, right? And it's going to limit that travel, limit that brake pressure. So for us, this is a $2,500 brake pedal. That is what makes a $60,000 to $70,000 sim. It's all these different components to get to the ultimate simulator where everything just works and feels perfect.
We are back and it is the next day. Now, a few more things have gotten done on the rig, but right now we're doing an important, massive part of this setup, and that is the monitor arms. Now, if you can see how massive this is behind me, check this out. So you might be wondering, why is it so big? Well, there are 3 Samsung Odyssey Arc 4K 55-inch screens going on this setup. If you guys don't know how massive those are, we actually have a few of them over there. We're gonna show you guys us putting them on here in a bit, but let's show you guys the stand. Obviously, it is paint to match the entire sim. So this is the paint to sample Porsche Chalk Gray. Another thing we're gonna show you guys is the PC that is needed to power this entire setup, which is a lot of power. The PC sits on the back right here. There's a nice little monitor stand, and there's a lot of other components. So what I'm gonna have now is I'm gonna have Chandler kind of come on, start putting things together, as well as explain the specs of the PC and everything in order to power this massive thing, because the screens themselves can't just power. If you put the 3 screens together and connect to a PC, it doesn't just work like that. You have to make some modifications, you have to do some programming to make that work, and Chandler is gonna explain. There's the massive monitors.
So I've got a 55-inch Samsung Arc. This thing's quite heavy. Probably not the best judge of weight, but I mean, it's gotta be a good 60 to 70 pounds. 2 things that make it really hard to run triple curve setup. One is lining them up, and you'll see when we get the bezels, these things are gonna be as crispy as possible, perfectly lined up, same height, same angle, obviously level, etc. What's really cool about these monitors, doesn't really matter for sim racing, is that they're fully adjustable, so you can run, you could run triples vertical. But for us, obviously running them in 16:9 landscape, but you can see these brackets here, custom made brackets to fully adjust the toe and angle of the monitor, the level of the monitor, so I can increase this or this to adjust the level, and that would translate to the adjustments of this. So for us, again, it's gonna be not only us getting it perfectly lined up here, but when the customer has it, their ability to be able to adjust it. If anything changes, if they want to tighten them up a little bit, everything's on swivel arms. So we've got adjustment here, we've got adjustment here. Obviously on this side, same thing. This is gonna slide in, we get the other monitor on, so we can get everything perfectly centered, perfectly lined up. That's the physical side. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we get it powered on. The other big component with triple monitor, especially of this stature, right, 55-inch triple 4K, is the software side. Getting even an NVIDIA 4090, we'll go into this PC specs, but even a 4090 struggles to recognize and power 3 giant 4K monitors. But we've got some tricks up our sleeve and some things that we do to make sure that they come on perfectly every single time. All right, so I'm gonna pan the camera down here. You can see that these aren't lined up, right? Because of the weight of these things, it's leaning forward. Well, take my trusty number 4 Allen key here, and I'm gonna start to kick the bottom of this monitor out so these things line up. Now, right now, we've got the screen protectors on, but without them, these bezels actually lock into each other. So you can see that this is slightly higher. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lower it or raise this one, make sure they're level, and we'll get these things perfectly crisp. Now, one of the biggest things that we see from people is like, oh, do you have bezel hider kits, etc., etc. On smaller monitors, they do make these acrylic bezel hider kits that will span over the bezel so you don't see the black thin line like this. However, For monitors this size, it's hard to get that to actually get the angles right so it truly deletes the bezel. But I will say, as someone who spends a lot of time sim racing, your eyes completely tune out the bezels, and you'll see that when we get this thing powered up, because we line the bezels up with the A-pillars, and I'll just have to show you, but I know that we're gonna get some comments that are like, oh, well, what about the bezels or the bezel hider kit? So for us, if you get these things perfectly level, perfectly adjusted and locked in, they just completely disappear.
All right, so here is the PC. Big boy. What do we got here?
Fully custom built PC with an NVIDIA RTX 4090. We've got DDR5 64 gigs of RAM. We're liquid cooled, and we've got an i9 13th gen processor. So essentially what we do for our PCs is max them out to the full capability that we can within reason. Of course, we could get 128 gigs of RAM, but the reality is it's not gonna be used, right? So we want to have 20-30% headroom in every PC, both from a processing standpoint, from a graphics standpoint, so that we can run the highest frame rates possible. So with triple Samsung ARCs with NVIDIA, the most that we can power is 120 Hertz, and that's an NVIDIA lock. You can't go above 120 Hertz for triple 4Ks. That being said, we need to be north of 120 frames, at least 120 frames, and we make sure that we, again, have the right processing, right graphic power to be able to run the highest frame rate possible to match the monitor.
All right, so we got all the monitors on, doing the little tweaks and stuff, and obviously all the wiring has to be done. But if you can see, just by doing this, look how crazy wide that angle is. We're gonna be able to give you guys a better representation once we get all the monitors on, so you can see what it looks like powered up, but this is insane. I wanted to time-lapse this part of the build because this is something you guys don't see, all the tedious work that goes into the wiring and making sure that every part of this rig is perfect, the wires are perfectly tucked. So here's a little bit of time-lapse of that. We are now on the stage of the monitors for Joe Rogan sim setup. Now, as you guys can see, we have the crazy, massive curvature of these monitors. This is going to be 3 Samsung Odyssey Arc 55-inch 4K monitors. It's gonna create the ultimate immersion when you're doing racing simulation, flight simulation, everything like that. Now, if we go ahead and check around the sides, well, first, let's just bask in the glory of the curvature. Just look at that. Would you just look at it?
Oh, would you look at this?
Come around to the side, we have the Porsche chalk gray paint that matches the chassis as well. We've got a lot of the cable management and everything taken care of. We're still doing some final pieces here and there, but as we come around the back, we got the sub stand here for the subwoofer, as well as we have the PC that is about to get fired up for the first time. Wire management's done, everything like that. And I cannot wait to see this thing ready to go. We got everything pretty much ready to go here and slide into the monitor setup. So we're gonna be just pushing the rig in and getting it all lined up and ready for the first fire up and get everything all plugged in. So we're gonna slide this in. It's actually super simple. We just go ahead and push it and it slides very easily. So let's go like this, slide it in. Just like that. Now we're gonna get everything plugged in and ready to go for the very first fire up and get this thing testing, making sure it's absolutely perfect for Joe. I cannot wait. Look how crazy this carbon back seat looks inside of here. This is gonna look so crazy in the studio. We're ready for it. So after about 15 to 20 more hours of additional work to make this thing perfect, it is 100% complete and ready to go to Joe. So now we're gonna go ahead and show you guys everything about it, fire it up and show you guys us actually using the rig and see how it's working. Now, there is a lot of unique features about this rig that only Joe Rogan is gonna have, and it's some technology you guys are gonna see coming in the future. This is the first rig ever. Now, let's first go ahead and talk about, we've talked about a little bit already, the monitors. You can see the massive 55-inch Samsung Arc 4K curved monitors looking absolutely stunning. We got all the lights set up. One of the things we come around here, you can see the Philips Hue on top there that are obviously a nice little color. As we come around the back, we've already talked about it, paint match for this part as well. We have the speakers all hooked up. There's 5 points of sound around the entire rig. We got the subwoofer back here. All the wiring is tucked and ready to go. As well as we have the PC, obviously. This is running a 4090 RTX graphics card inside of it. There's a lot of other details. We'll show you a little bit of a shot of that. Now, one of the things I want to point out from the back, but we'll show you from the front because it's a little bit easier. This is brand new, never done before. Steering wheel holders, but what makes it cool is we'll go around to the other side. All 4 wheels that we have are not just powered here, they're also synced with software. So you can run everything about the wheels as they're powered here. You can add YouTube videos on them, you can add different parts of the screen on there. Anything you want can be run. It's not just powered, which has never been done before. And this just looks absolutely stunning because we're sending Joe with 4 different types of wheels, which we've showed you guys. And so now what we need to do is we need to run some iRacing. We're gonna grab one of these wheels and get it going and show you guys some actual footage of the rig running because I know you guys all want to see that. So I'm just gonna grab this off here. There we go. As you can see, I'm gonna take this back over to the rig. It's as simple as this. Go ahead, we have a quick release, slide this on. There we go. And now this is gonna power up, get everything ready to go, and we are ready to turn on iRacing, hit Road Atlanta, and run some laps. So now we're in iRacing. We're actually gonna show you guys setting up a AI race. And one of the things that you guys don't see, and a part of what Podium 1 does here, is everything that you need to run any sort of program that you want will be set up before the rig gets to you, because this takes a lot of man hours of figuring a lot of things out, and that's something that most people won't see. I'm gonna go in here and go into iRacing. Now, iRacing takes a little bit to learn, obviously its own software. We're gonna go ahead and do an AI race. I'm gonna pick a car. I love driving Porsches, so I'm just gonna do Porsche. I'm gonna type it in. We should have an RSR in here. Porsche, let's see, a GT3 Cup 992. Good with that. I'm gonna go over to the track. I love Road Atlanta. That's my quote-unquote home track, but Road Atlanta right there. We're gonna do the full course. Then we're gonna go track options, blah, 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 short parade lap. So we're gonna let this load now. So one of the things about iRacing is that this is one of the most realistic feeling in my eyes. With the experience that I have, the most realistic feeling, because when you get into these races, your tires are cold, your brakes are cold. These are all things that need to be warmed up. And I've put people into iRacing before into a race, and they immediately go off track because they don't realize you have to warm the tires up, you have to feel it. And the great thing about these rigs, and at any level of rigs with iRacing, you can feel the car when it's sliding out. You can feel different things. You're understeering. Those are the points and the advantages of having rigs like this, because that's actual learning. Because in real life, you'll feel the car understeering or feeling the weight transfer, which is like the greatest thing about this. If you love driving, you love racing, anything about it, that is incredible. All right, so we're loading up into Road Atlanta right now. We're about to go into an AI race, just mess around, get some B-roll, and fully feel everything. Something that's really cool is you can see the color of the wheels. Obviously, this wheel is absolutely insane. It's got predicted lap, last lap, best lap. It shows you the track on here. But what's also really cool is once we get into the race, all of the wheels that are connected over here, all of the same features that are happening on here happen on those as well, and they're not even being played. So you'll see the shift lights and everything change. That wheel down there is showing RPMs and gear. It's crazy. We want to talk a little bit more about everything going on. Obviously, we have the wind feature. That is not just a fan, it's variable speeds as well as directional. So depending on if you're turning left, turning right, you can feel the wind from different directions. As well as this wheel has up to 27 Newton meters of force, which is enough to break your finger. And we're not gonna have it turned up all the way to that, but we have it to a reasonable setting right now so you can get that realistic feel. But I just can't wait to get out here, try this out, especially with this wheel, absolutely insane, and get racing.
Alright guys, so we've got Microsoft Flight loaded up. We've got our HOTAS controls, which stands for hands-on throttle and stick. Now, there's a love-hate in the market for the Thrustmaster flight controls. Unlike Thrustmaster's racing line, which is pretty entry-level and probably not the best quality, their flight stuff is good. I mean, all metal box, metal switches, metal joystick, everything's great. Something to know, this is a racing simulator first with the ability to fly. So, can we upgrade the flight controls? 100%. Verpal, max flight systems, there's endless amounts of upgrades for flight, but for the racing combos where you have to flight, we like to keep it simple with HOTAS and then give the customer the ability to upgrade if they want. I'm flying in a Bell 407, I'm a big helicopter nerd. you'll notice I'm using this is actually an A10 Warthog setup. It works just like a collective. However, for the helicopter nerds or people that are really into helicopters, we can do full collectives, one-to-one, Robinson R44, R22, R66, MD500, any of the Bell series, EC130, etc. So I just wanted to get that out of the way because I know a lot of the nerds will be in the comments. But let's go ahead and get in our chopper here. I'm gonna get this steering wheel out of the way. You can see how easy it is. Quick release, it's off. Now I've got nothing in the way of what I'm looking at, and I can slowly and safely lift off here. I'm in Toronto. It's a fun place to fly. The city center here. And the coolest part about the flight, in my opinion, is that I can feel the rotor right now. I don't know if you can see. If I put like a water bottle here, maybe we'll do that a little test later. Put the water, you can actually see the vibrations. I can feel that in my butt right now. And so it makes me feel really connected to what's going on. So when I rotate, this whole thing is going to start to shift, and it's just super immersive. You can see the sunset here. The best thing about Microsoft is the graphics. It's got satellite of the entire world, so I can quite literally and virtually hit any airport in the whole world for the most part. I would say 90% of them. There's a lot of graphics mods we can do. So for instance, Toronto behind me, and I'll loop around here. You'll be able to see it looks good. It looks like Toronto, but I can actually upload a photorealistic version of Toronto, so the buildings look perfect in 4K. You see all the lights and the trains and whatever it is in the city. Right now it looks cool from afar. You get up close, you'll see because of the satellite data, some of the buildings almost looks like we're flying an I Am Legend or something, like the city's been overrun. But that, again, that's just because it's all satellite data. Pretty infinitely programmable and upgradable, both software and hardware wise. Quick little tour of the city. I'm gonna bring it back down for a landing. Let's see what I can do. Right now I've got data streaming on, so as I fly, it's actually going to be updating the world. It's going to be updating the graphics. We can bring this in. I'm coming in a little hot, 120s. We're going to pull our nose up, power down. We're going to flare, and now we're bleeding speed. We'll be able to bring this thing in for a nice soft landing. Now, something you guys need to watch out for is we've got full one-to-one Robinson and MD500 systems dropping, meaning the collective, cyclic, anti-torque pedals are literally one-to-one replicas of the real thing. Full metal buttons. And let's see, what do you think, Harry? Think we can get this down gently?
Yeah, it'd be better.
We've got an Airbus A320 about to taxi into us, but there we go. That's the flight. And again, you can do helicopters, jets, fighter jets, so F-18, DCS world, you can do A-10 Warthog, Apache, F-16, F-15. That's kind of endless. But for someone like Joe, who's not a pilot, maybe doesn't know all of the systems, Microsoft's perfect because it can get him started in learning how airplanes and helicopters work, and then he can upgrade from there and get as really in-depth as he wants to. We're sending Joe with 4 wheels. I just want to give you guys a quick rundown of what we're sending him. So we've got the GSI Gomez Sim Industries GT Max 32. This is an all carbon wheel. It is hard as a rock, full carbon. It's not metal with carbon veneer over it. It's full carbon fiber construction here. We've got all of our funky switches, rotary dials, buttons. So you got pit speed limiter, DRS, you can program it all. And then of course you've got all of your telemetry data on the screen. You can cycle through like 100 different dashes. You can create your own dash, so like he could put like, you know, JRE Studios on there with like any sort of racing stuff that he wants, which is really cool. Same thing with the GSI in terms of the screen and some of the buttons and stuff, but this is the Hyper P1. Both of them, as you can see, are in scarlet. GSI calls these colorways here. So you've got all the red, which is gonna match well with his Recaro seat, the podium, and the gray and stuff. So this is more of a, most would identify as a formula wheel. I think it's really good for like LMP cars and stuff. And even GT3 cars like a Porsche, Ferrari, they actually have more wheels typically like this, whereas this would be like more of a standard steering wheel. So this is going to be great for any of your IMSA stuff from LMPs, DPIs, etc. Then we've got these 2 wheels here. These are the Asetek wheels. Asetek makes amazing products. We use a lot of them in our turnkey rigs. We'll start with the Forte Formula Wheel. This would be a perfect wheel for IndyCar, Formula Wheel, any open wheel driving. And of course, you've got your funky switches, rotary dials. All of them, all 4 wheels have programmable LEDs. So you can change essentially, even when you press the button, what color it turns, lights up around the button there. And then we have the round comfort rim with the Forte button box. So very similar button box to the Formula wheel, except for this has a Alcantara round wheel. And this is gonna be perfect for sports car driving, say in Forza or Asetek Corsa, or really mainly drifting, right? You wanna be able to cycle the wheel through your hands without any sort of abrasion in the rim. So yeah, 4 wheels. He'll be able to easily swap them through the quick releases. So you just push this button, pull the wheel off, swap them through. He can drive pretty much anything with any wheel he wants. So the P1 Ultimate typically comes with just these 2 wheels. As you guys saw, we got carried away with the powered wheel holders that we built for Joe and wanted to be able to give him more options, because all the people that are going to be in the studio, since the sim's going in the studio, whether it's an Elon Musk or a crazy conspiracist on aliens, whatever it is, some guys might be into drifting, some might be into Formula, some might be into sports cars, or even playing farming simulator. And now we've got 4 options for anyone to be able to drive whatever they want to.
The rig is now ready to be packed up and sent to Joe's studio in Texas. Now, we're not gonna be able to film at the studio, but we're hoping that he'll talk about it potentially in the future in some of his podcasts. Also, Tom Segura is gonna be delivered here in a few weeks as well. And so maybe they'll get some races together. But this is the final form of Joe Rogan's sim. I'm glad we were able to show you guys the entire build process. And we're excited and ready for Joe to get on there and have some fun. And you never know who's gonna be on this sim. This sim could house Elon Musk, could house any of his guests. Could be fun, and maybe you'll convince them to buy some sims as well. So if you guys enjoyed this build series, let us know. We will be doing another one with Tom Segura, and we have a ton of content with Tom Segura. We'll be delivering his, we'll be filming the whole process and doing some content with him, so look out for that. We'll catch you guys in the next video.